Hello and welcome to the CSS section of this particular course. The CSS has to do with the design, what you get to see on the website. The HTML is just the basic structure, while the CSS has to do with the colors, the animations, and the rest of those things you get to see on the site. So it's going to be a very special segment, and we have to dive in really quick. All right, let's say for example we have something like h1 here that says hello. H1 that says hello. Let's save and see how that appears on the browser. This should not be new to you. Hello. Now this hello, the color is actually black, which is the default color. So what if I have the intention of changing this color from maybe this black to red, or even moving this text from this point to the center? That is where CSS actually comes into play. All right, so we have three basic methods of applying CSS to our work. So I'm going to show you the three of them, one after the other. All right, so the first one I will show you is what we call the inline styling. In the inline styling, all what you have to do is to put a style attribute within the tag and then give the property and the value. The property in this case will be color. The property in this case will be color, and then the value red or any other color you want to use there. All right, let's refresh that work and see what we have. I refresh, and then you see the color has actually changed from the default black to red color. Then let's look at the second method. Let's say we have another tag here. Let me use another tag, say h2. In this h2 we have the word welcome. Now this welcome, I want to also change it to another color. Let's see how it is on the browser before we even try changing it. It will still be the default black color. So I want to change it using another method, or using another styling method. In this case I will be using a method called internal styling. Do not forget the one we used here was called inline. This is inline styling, but I want to use internal styling for this particular one. All right, in the internal styling I will come to the head tag and then define a style tag. Style, open and close it, open and close. And then this is the basic structure of CSS. In CSS you have what we call the selector, then the curly bracket, the property, and then the value. This is what I mean. In this case now I want welcome to take effect, so this h2 will now save as my selector. So I will say h2, then a curly bracket. The next thing that will follow is what we call the property. The property in this case will be the color, so I will just say color. After color, the next thing I will put will now be the value, which is the color I'm interested in. Let's say I want to use blue. All right, then I will now close it with the final semicolon. Now let's see what we have on the browser. So I will refresh this. You find out that the color has actually changed to blue, and I can do a whole lot of things from that point. So I can hit enter a new line, and then give it another property. Let's say text align. Can have something like text align center. Text align center. All right, let's refresh and see. My aim is to move the text from where it was to the center. You see we have welcome, and we have actually started styling our work. Then the next thing I will show you will be the last method, which is what we refer to as the external styling. External styling is just like the internal, but just that in this case we have to use a separate file for it. So what I will do, I have to create a file. I can call the file whatsoever I want, but in this case permit me to call it style dot. In a previous class during the HTML section, I told you guys that every file you create must have an extension. So if it is HTML, you say .html, but since we are using CSS, we'll be doing .css. Assuming you were working with a language like PHP, you say .php. If it were to be Python, you say .py, and the rest of those languages. But in this case, we are working with CSS, so I will say .css. Then now we have succeeded in creating a CSS file. And one thing you should know is that in this external CSS, it uses the same method. like the internal, in the sense that it makes use of what we refer to as the selector. After the selector, you have the property. What I'm writing now is just for demonstration purpose. After the property, you have what we call the value, or yes, the value. So now, for us to, okay, let me define another tag. Let's say h3, so that we can apply that particular styling to this one. h3, if we have h3 that says maybe hello world, and then we want to actually change the color also to, let's say, green, we'll say h3, which is the selector, taking the place of the selector, like substituting for selector right now. And then the property, let's say color, still color for now. We have other styling, will be other properties we'll be looking at, but let's take the basics for now. Green, let's say green color. So now I expect this to actually work, change that h3 to green color, but it will not change. Let me save, refresh, and go to the browser. Hello world will be black. The color has not changed to green. I don't know whether you can pause the video and ponder why that is happening. Why is it that it has not changed to green? The truth is that if you notice the inline and the internal, they all appear on this same particular file within this file. So this file recognizes them. But this one is in an external file, is in another file in which this particular index.html does not know that this style.css actually exists. So for it to work, we have to connect the two. So permit me to remove this for now. We have to link that external style sheet to this index.html. So we use the link tag to do that. It's a self-closing tag, meaning it doesn't have a closing tag, only the opening. All right, in this link we'll define two major attributes. The first one will be what we call rel, like a relationship. Then we say the file we are about to link is a style sheet. Do not forget that CSS stands for cascading style sheet. Cascading style sheet. So that's the first attribute we'll be defining. The second attribute will now be the location of that file, the file you want to connect, which is this style.css. Where is it? So you use the href to connect it. So in this case, since it is within the same folder with what we are working on, I will just say style.css. All right, now let's save our work and see what we have on the browser. I will refresh this. You find out that the color has actually changed right now from the default black to green color. So in this particular section, it was just the introduction to CSS, how we can connect our external style sheet, and the other two methods we can actually use to style our work. I'll see you guys in the next video.